Welcome, everyone. Greetings. Talofa. Malo elele. Hafade. Hola. And aloha. Welcome, distinguished guests, the Reverend Senior Pastor, the Honorable Governor, Honorable Lieutenant Governor, His Excellency the Roving Ambassador, Honorable Congresswoman, Honorable Paramount Chief, Secretary of the Office of Samoan Affairs, members of the Cabinet, esteemed leaders from the federal, Pacific, and local families, and everyone gathered here with me this morning. Afio mai, and welcome to the third America Samoa Annual Disaster Resilience Summit. Talofa, talofa lava. O te manatu o leo wa ato i tumul falefao a inga sa tanga loalangi. O lilingo fo i sa o le fale sela. O na ua pau sa o le babau. O tau fai sunu i ai nei ao o le langi. Ua fati sina pe au o le sami. A ua fisanga savili o le matamatanga. A wawa a atoa usu tai au o Samoa ma a inga paalangilangi. Wa o tu ai nei le tai. A wa o lea. Wa no fo ia au olo olo. Wa pa u fo i le tua vau. Ma ua mamalu le tua au mafua malu. Wa matalupe nei le tau tamali i tai au ma le aso. Wa na muali i ai. Le maoto tupulanga ai o le tupua ma le lau ai o le e KVZK me tisi Samoa. E pei o le upu i asu i save ma le whetalainga e whai a inga ma tapa au ma la taua. O te matua i utupia. Ai nei le matapuna i vai vau. E pei o le matamatanga i vai suli. O le tui atua ma o te whatulou lava. O te whatu lima mwhawhelua i atu le paia ma le mamalu o sa sao nei. I le paia maulunga o tau malo whaaloalungia. O paia whaale KVZK, mamalu whaale atunuu. Atoa ai ma le tafutolu whaatawangai o le malo Amerika Samoa. A fio lau fionga le kovansili ma le mamalu o le kapeneta. A fio lau fionga le Lieutenant Governor. A fionga i le sui le konikeresi. A fionga le maputasi, ma ofiso le kapeneta, ma le mamalo le kapeneta le nei tai au. Ai mai se ai o tatou sui wala au lio. Ia nu o tuia whaatini o tau sala. I ta maa matua, mato o le whale ula. O la la tau fatu ainga tausi lea. Ai ua wha maalo le pule, wha maalo langi matafi. I am not nervous. I have really bad eyesight. And I am trying to read. And I do apologize. O te tata fuli a maupo, mo fuli o langisa. Talu o na ua nanau le manu o Sofia. E sau fio leli. Ai peitai. Ta te tui le tai au nei, ai o te lilia. A wao le taha anawa te whatu Amerika Samoa ai, ia wha mua le atua, wana o le atua lava. O te wala au wha aloalo atuai, i le sunga whawhia ngainga, Senior Pastor o Sasa Aupuso o le Firm Foundation Christian Church i Amerika Samoa. E tātou, awa se tātou noanga manu i le atua, mo le nei wha moe. Ma loo whalo alo te le whaktai.
Talofa ua mai apailango ma whaafeola ia lo tō malu mo lo tō pa ia ele MC o ni tai au ele tō eo fo isi whaamatalanga o tō la i whaisi te talo e ame se fo se upa malosi ta ia laile nei whono tāua le tātu te talo le atua sili e se o e lavo le atua e mai le wavau e o le wha vau e o ia te oe le mana ma le vi inga ia te oe fo i wha manu ma le wha awhitai ma ia te oe le ola ma ia te oe le malos ma ia te oe fo i le aso fau nei wau lia wha taunu iai nei nei wha moe moe ma tau poto e la loi fo nei mota o ale usui o nei fono tāua o le matu te talo whaatasi mai alo wanganga pa ia matu te mamana o mia o le fisoa soari mo i mātou e awali tia i mea uma matu te whaia e ala i loa lofa o le ale matu te talo ono Iesu le matu li i whaola amene ai li whaitawina le fionga le atua mo mua whaaftai atu le sunga tamai tai pule ma le ofisa me se committee ta penanga mo le nei fa moi moi aftai le vala au fa ro longa maulunga sa va no fa au lo fo mo le lo nei tanga te fa tauwa e va tu se upu ma te talo e manuia nei fontanga o te faitawina tu si ma tu spaia e oto mai fo nei manatu e fa ta ia laita tau ma fa manuia nei fontanga Salamu e fas fuono tasi manelua o te whaitawino whapea. O le atua lo tātou man, mo le tātou malos. E whai o ia ma whisoasoani sili i puapuanga. O le mea lea tātou tele whewhe ai, pe a whaaliwina le lalulangi, maluluina maunga i to tonu o le sami. O lo anga le leile ali, o le olo ia, i aso popoanga, o lo sila fia e ia, e o whaatua tua ia te ia. Whaitawina whaperitania mo i nātua mo umbia le ngangana lona lua. Psalm 46, verse 1 and 2, God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and mountains fall into the heart of the sea. The Lord is good, a refuge in time of trouble. He cares for those who trust in Him. O se opulea wa oto matu se salamo matu se nauma. Whai mataiala, e mo nei fontanga i nei tausanga. Haftai aile atua, i nei ava no maulunga, ia e manatua ailo na alofa ia i tātou. Me tolu o te whamanatu nei porpitonga ma nei fontanga au usufia matau au fia. E e por kala me le fai fe au sa fai le matou le tio e fa pea na o se fa manatu no winga o tatu loa ia e fa manatu pea na o se fa manatu just a reminder or just be reminded God is alive na se fa manatu me mua o lo soifua le atua o le atua na whaia le langi ma le langi. Na te amaia le ola, na te amaia le manawa. E iai mea uma, o ia fo e manu iai whaata singa uma. Mea lona lua, e te taun tatu te tonu le fionga le atu. First thing from the Word of God, and a reminder for us all this morning, God is alive and He cares. And he is here, for he is our creator. Second point, we must trust his word. Problem tangata istay mi whangalo le atua. Avoid le atua I latu whiwhilinga ma me whai. But maitus pa ia, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will guide us in a straight path. Melon tolu, let us invite him, welcome him in all our endeavors in life. It's taun tatu wala aulia loa ia o ia. Ia tai mai ai tatu fontanga ma so se mea tau te whaia neola. Awa o ia mai ai le manuia. Nei mea tolu na se whamanatu. Tu se salamo, God is our refuge. Mai o le atua o le tātou malu. O le atua o le tātou malu. Ma le tātou malos. Mai o ia e sa audi so se teime e fesoswani. I so se teime intrapo ai tangata ola. Tau mai ai e alofa e manatu mai. He loves, he cares, and he's ready to rescue. Therefore, we will not fear. Atu'ulo trust ile atua. If we put our hope and our trust in God Almighty, God says we should not fear. And we will have confidence to proclaim we will not fear. So the earth be removed and mountains fall into the sea. Remove the earth. Take me on natural disaster. Earthquakes, flooding, earth erosions, storm and hurricanes. Fear will come because it's natural to have fear. We are human. But God says, trust in me, I am your refuge. I am your strength in times of your trouble. Wa olo malu, wa olo olo iteime te puanga ai. And mountains fall into the sea. God says, I created heaven and earth. Disaster will come because we are living in a fallen world. We are in the progress of corruption and decay, even as human beings. But the good news is, God has a better plans. Jeremiah 29, 11 and 12 and 13. I have a plan for your life. A plan to prosper you. A plan that you have a future. Let us trust God's word. Heaven and earth, physical heaven and earth will pass away. And his word, he says, my word established, never change. That's why he said, trust in me. I am your God. I am your refuge. I am your strength in times of your trouble. He cares. He cares. My Lord, He's a good God. He cares for those who trust in him. Proverbs. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. Let us welcome here him in all our endeavors in life, in every walk of life. Without God, ele manuia. A whaia le atina ina le li le whale, e ngā lue fua i ngā tō e atia. A whaia leo leo ina le ali le ai, e matala fua le na te leo leo ina. Fionga ia le atua, tu se salamu e se lau o fitu. Unless the Lord builds the house, they who labor works in vain. Unless the Lord guides the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. Ta umea I o atatu fufuanga. Our endeavors, our efforts, we are men. We have limitation. But God's word says we can trust in Him. Au no mai fa mai ngalu e fua. Nei fontanga ese mari taua ta penanga. Ya mo fa lave e ono mai. A leo fa mari tuspaia trust in God. Why? He knows it all. He is all-knowing. He is always present. He is all-powerful. And He cares. Tatu a wala ulia o ia fio mai. E awali ti ai. Tau mwhainga uma le tangata. Ina ia tu mau pere vi inga ia teia. Maltus pa ia au no maia. E ngā lue fua lava. E tangata ngā le lue. O le au tū. O le nei fontanga. Kanu tolu. E whaapea. Our community. Our responsibility. O te whaupopo I ai. Our God is with us. Tatu watu nuu Amerika Samoa. Tatu matafa yoi ma le tatu tiu te whai. Le tatu watua o lo whaatasi mai tatou. Emmanuel, God is with us. O le upu whaamalosi lea. E ta iala ai ma whaamanui ai. E nei fontanga taua. E manuia tele ia fufanga o nei fontanga la tatu te talo. Le atua o le matu tama. Mei ta ele o matu loto o matu te whawhitai ai oe. Wa o matu te tonu I laua fionga o lau upu. E moni pe a e whetalai. Oe o le matu malu. Oe fo le matu wola. Teimi o whainga tā ma teimi o maipupu ngā. Matu te vai atu ia te oe. Lord God Almighty, we trust in You and we thank You and so grateful for Your word this morning. We trust in Your word. Pray that You bless this conference, Lord. O te talo whaapitoa mo au whaamanianga nganga paia. Every speakers and contributors. That the theme of this conference would be achieved. May their contribution, Lord, produce results, positive results, for the benefits of our community and our nation as a whole. Whaamanuia te tai o seo matu malo, matu whaatas. Fionga Governor Seeley. Yeah, meisele fionga Congresswoman. Tato whailaunga, ta mali ima whailaunga o seo tato atunu. Ali ima ta maita. Whaatasia I le nei. Whaunatanga tāua molona amataima. Whaamanuia I mātua uma nei taia. O le ale ta talo. A matai oe. Whaaiwe oe le manuia. Lo mātua tua. E nei whaunatanga tāua. I le swafo Yesu. Ua hole ma te talo atuai. Amen.
Whaptai atu I lau sunga a whawhengenga taulangi au kuso o saka. Kakalofa ko le sofa mau le ko kama le ko le alo ma le ko le ngang sa. Le wo longa kingo mo kangi le lei ya mission se fe au fa le nganga. Mai ka ko kaf. Ai mongia. God said, I have a plan for you. I will put a new heart and a new mind. La fa ye se fa vai fo. O tatou uma ale fa vai o ka koiloa. O si fa koe mo koe loko ka ko alo sanga mai po uti. Sa moa mo le kua. O fia ko le fionga ko vanga fa ao le malo ku le moa. Fia ko le fionga sui ko vanga. Ya ko fa ko ya la pui. Ma maru ka ko mafukanga ngai ka yao. Yawa sa wa ku le. A kongi a lisa tua to'o, ia e mese o kero la kou lo kako whakasai. Good morning, and I beg you welcome to the Methodist Youth Hall in Tafuna. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. I'm often remembered by God's Spirit when I'm always standing before the people of American Samoa, Tuila Manua, but what God has put in all of our heart to go and to build not only American Samoa, but also build the world. When Joshua was crossing the main river, God told Joshua, tell the 12 tribes, you know, this is the children of Jacob. Take 12 stones, carry it to the other side of the river. When you get there, you'll build a monument. First, you'll give God the glory. And secondly, you will take care of those rocks, those 12 rocks. Samoa, without no question, believe those 12 means family, just like God meant it to be with the 12 sons of Jacob, as he promised Abraham. Samoa, we don't have no political parties. We don't have no Republican, Democrat, Independent. We only have one party, and that party is Ainga, right, Attorney General? Every day in the Samoan way of life, we live it. We live it. We pray God to give us the strength and the understanding and the wisdom so we can be like those shining rocks. The last thing the Lord said to Joshua, make sure that you take care of those rocks, that from generation to generation they will ask what do those rocks mean. And we believe that's what we're trying to do every day of our life. As the governor, lieutenant governor here, with our government, myself, with all the high chief and talking chief and the people of American Samoa. We do every day to share our love with the people of the world, especially our family in the South Pacific and on the Pacific. We just finished the meeting with the Pacific Island Forum, and we also use the word we are a Pacific family, but the heart of the Pacific family is all Samoa. Samoa Tuto Chasi, America Samoa. We are one people and one family, and we have one God, God the Father, and God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. I'm sharing with my brother here, Basic, from DOI, the work that we're trying to do for some time. Not only the territories of the United States in the Pacific, but also in Puerto Rico and so many other parts of the world, to try to stay focused on the future, resilient, and be prepared. Sometimes causes us to think outside the box. Not only we think outside the box, sometimes we're going to have to live outside the box in this modern day and age. One thing, as I always remind the governor and all of us and our people here, we have to ask the question, when we wake up to a beautiful sun, calm ocean, nice breeze, and no wars, no wars. We have to get on our knee and thank Almighty God and ask the question, why are we so special? And just like the Whaithiauia said, give it all. We have to give it all to God. There should be no question about it. Paul says the word I know. And I think it's time for all the world to say that they really know who God is through Jesus Christ. I thank you again for each and every one of you. When you live here in American Samoa, we're going to shake hands the usual way. But here's Samoa. We don't shake hands. We don't give you a, put in your ear, we don't give you a lei because you're going to take it off. This is what we say. Take your heart and put it in my heart. Every time you breathe, every day, you're always going to remember American Samoa and the Samoan people. Thank you, and we love you. God bless.
Thank you, Honorable Paramount Chief Maunga. The Office of Samoan Affairs is our partner, and that is our joint welcome remarks from Honorable Paramount Chief Maunga. And it is my extreme honor and pleasure to introduce the Honorable Governor of Fionga Lemanu Palipoi Sialenga Maunga for his special remarks.
The Honorable Ratu William Tukanivalu, Mr. Bezo, the non-Samoan speaking audience of our conference this morning. If you would allow me a few minutes to say a few words in our native tongue, and then I'll come back to our national language. Ua whai mai a nofo i whaatulou. Whai mai fo i a tū e whaatulou. A savali e whaatulou. A tautala fo i e whaatulou. Ale avano maulunga I le nei tae au, tu lai atu ai. I lumo le mamalu o le au fia, ma le atunu whalonglong. Sila, sila. Ia wale nei tau au fianga. Ma le nei whonutanga tāua. I le atunu ai meise le whainga malo. O ia lau le nei aso, le leo tātou whamomoe le tu. Upu wholofola, mana wainga lana sunga le whawhiangainga. Sunga le whaiwhi awia o sasa au puso. O le nā fōe o whawailolo tā puai. Le mamalu le au whainga luana tofi le atua. Ia mei se fo I nisi le nei mawhitanga. O lo iei tofi. O e ka le sia fia si o tatou o tanu o te whatulo. Pa ia le atunu. A mata mai lava le matua se I o lava e se le titi. Tupu mona e. Me se foi le auto uli ma lau fuari loa. Tā pāu sinsina. Me se foi. Le au fai upo le atanu. Le a fioatu le a fionga le maputasi. Fio foi tapa au o le nei maafutanga ia o whailau. Sopo o tau tamatua totoo manu malu o la o tau whetalaina i lea fioanga ma lea fioanga i tu malo mo lea tunu te whatulo. Pa i on whainga malo i o vaenga ese o lea fio atu lea fionga ko vana lutena. Lea fionga tau whātua to'o i ala pui. Ia me se fo i le mamalu le kāpineta. Fio fo i le fionga le whailautusi. Mamalu le tā uktau Samoa. Tā po ia fo i le nei aso le malu le fono. Ia me se whamasinonga le fio atu fo. I le fionga le whaipule le la mua. Te i on mautasi na na fionga ui whatali. Komen Radawakin. Whaftai le tu o mōre awa noe tātou te wheroa i nei tai au. Au pa ia fwoi o reo fio i le nei tai au. Ia ia le tāpua i tu mua mapule. Fio maila na fionga le ampasa Samoa. Tō whai a whata, ia ai meise le mamalu, Samoa tutotasi. O ia whata o tō i o si o tātou utinu, whainga malo, are pa i o le nei au fia, ia le nau sa unoa le tai o le ofisa o lo whaurua i le nei fontanga. A le foi a fio atu lana fionga le kovana lutena. Ia wale nei fontanga lona tolu. E pei ona ta oto i le nei aso ma lona whamoe moe. O le nei whamoe moe e le fo. O tau silfia ma matou loa. O tau soifua mai ai, ma o mātou whiola mai ai. A le whata o tau tonga o fuafuanga a le whainga malo. I le ngata le malo tele a o le malo Amerika Samoa. Ia e meise fo i leo tunu e kalesia. O le fsota inga vāvā lata o lo tau sa ili. O le fsota inga ia le leo na fuafua tau atinai. E tau mawhainga al whainga malo fsota i. Masi o tātou o tenu i ona vaenga ese. O lo tau whamautu. Lea fio atu lea whionga al kovana lutena o lo taitaia tūlanga o nei whamoe moe. Ia o nei ofisa ma fsota inga. Ia mautu ma le leia tātou fuafuanga. I tūlanga whalawe whanātua e leo fau. Wau tau silfia. Aoro whamautu. Manuia fontanga le malu reo fia. Malu reo whainga luenga. Ia meise le tunu. Manu whainga malo maua stato ai. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, residents of American Samoa, I am honored to welcome you to the third Disaster Resilience Summit. Today we are privileged to host a distinguished group of leaders and experts committed to enhancing our resilience in natural disaster. We are honored to be joined by Lea Fionga le Maputasi, Paramount Chief Mauna, the Honorable Congresswoman Uifatali Amata Rarowaige, the Department of Interior, Mr. Peso Orly, Mr. Robert Fenton, which I don't see this morning. Where's FEMA? FEMA here? Okay, got you. Of the Region 9, Mrs. Lela Salanoa Francis Brownville Penna, CEO of Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Government of American Samoa. Fele, Talofa, Levale Feluai, and the many of you that are familiar and has been to American Samoa and has been helping American Samoa in different venues and different gatherings of our relationship. And today we are especially honored to host His Excellency the Ratu William Tonganivalu, Nisa Pulavinaka. Welcome to American Samoa. Special welcome and whaftai to all whose expertise, support will enrich our summit, our discussions and initiatives. Thank you for being here, and thank you for contributing to our shared mission. Reflecting on a stride we made during last year's summit, today we unite again under the theme, our community, our responsibility. This year's theme captures the essence of the work we must do together as a government, as a community, and religious denominations. Different associations, different gatherings, and the many other that are in or on this island. As an island community, we know all too well the challenges that climate change brings to our islands. These challenges demand more than just resilience. They require collective effort and a shared commitment to protecting our homes. This summit underscores our profound responsibility to ensure that American Samoa remains safe, strong, and prepare for whatever lies ahead. We are all here because we believe in the power of community and that by working together, we can secure a brighter future for our islands. And when I say islands with an S, it's not just American Samoa. And American Samoa hopes also as well that our guests here are from the other islands, that they learn, they get to cooperate, connect with others that can help their islands in the Pacific. After all, we all in the islands, the islanders, share the same challenges. Over the next few days, we have a unique opportunity to learn from one another through roundtable discussions and training. These platforms will allow us to share strategies, research, and insights. Our guest speakers from local, regional, and federal partners will provide valuable lessons and best practices to strengthen our collective efforts. Their expertise will help guide us towards a more resilient American Samoa. Let me emphasize that we are not alone in this endeavor. American Samoa is defined by its people and our ability to come together in times of need. Our preparedness, collaboration, and shared sense of responsibility will see us through in the face of disasters. We must take that spirit of unity and translate it into meaningful action. Each of us has a role to play in ensuring our community is ready, resilient, and capable of meeting future challenges like coastal hazards, coastal erosions, or loss of land by wave actions, storm surges of the abnormal rise sea water level, flooding with heavy rains, river streams overflow, hurricanes, and we all know better, tsunamis, and many others. We islanders face the great environment challenge of our generation as a threat multiplier. Climate change compounds existing issues such as migration, poverty, social conflicts, and political instability. It is disproportionately affects the poorest of the poor through food security, high food prices, lost livelihood opportunities, and adverse health impacts. While we share success stories, disaster events, case studies, mitigation plans, resources, and funding opportunities, I would like to emphasize again to our federal partners, which I think they're all on this side of the audience, the importance of American Samoa's request one, differentiate territories and state benchmark on a President Emergency Declaration. 2, our Samoan guest houses as a family home, and I'm looking at FEMA as I talk. 3, our territories reef as an infrastructure. And 4, we've been preaching seawalls, seawalls, and seawalls, and mountain roads. And I say this for American Samoa now, that I have the opportunity, and then I won't be seeing you for the next 3 days. I'll get kicked out by the Lieutenant Governor. If you can imagine, for most of you that first time in American Samoa, that we always ask for seawalls because, as you can see, our roads are on shorelines. And under those roads, power lines, water lines, sewer lines, communication lines, all under that road. And anytime we have the erosions without seawalls protecting our road, we're not just protecting the road, we're also protecting the infrastructure, the livelihood of these islands. So that's why we're asking for seawalls. First, to protect our lands. Second, to protect the main infrastructures of the islands. While we work those as an immediate response to disasters, we also need to work the long term. And the long term is to migrate to higher grounds. Up on the mountains, good chance we can put roads on the mountains. Once the road is on the mountains, electricity, water, most of our families will migrate to the top. Maybe, and I just came from Tonga, and we were in a meeting when a 6.6 earthquake happened in Tonga. I think when it got here it was lower than that. And I could basically feel my chair moved, and I'm very heavy on the chair. The chair should not be moving, and my chair moved. And I basically see everybody can see their eyes with, what do we do now? And I was looking around, when is this building is gonna fall, so I was looking to the nearest window. I'm gonna do my stunt through that window. But For those of you that lives on islands, that is very scary. That has to be, the government has an answers to those. But we, the islanders, once that happens, we just pray to God. Pray to God that it will finish and nothing else will happen after that. As we do that, we also face the responsibilities of taking care of our people. Where is everybody at? Where are the leaders at? What are we doing? What do we do now? And we gotta have the resources in place to do those. If we don't, then I think we're not doing what we're supposed to do as leaders. So I brought those up because I know this is my only chance to remind our federal partners our request that's been there, and we hope to get some answers, or at least something so we know where to go. These challenges must be decided upon, or we will face the same challenges repeatedly. Can you imagine, and I say that the Presidential Emergency Declaration, territories have the same benchmark like the states. Here on the island, if it rains for 2 or 3 days, it's a disaster for American Samoa. Because you will see the road flood, you will see the families running for find shelters, you will see the erosion on the streams, rivers, and so forth. 2 or 3 days of raining in a big mess of land like the continental of the US is not an emergency. For American Samoa and the many islands of the Pacific, it is an emergency. So we talked about the global warming, all the continents, all the leaders, trying to meet the global warming's demand to bring it down. But mind you, which is a very good effort, but mind you, all the big continents, all the big governments have massive land about this size. Islanders, it's about this size. By 2050 or whenever the year comes that they're going to meet the global warming degree 1.5 Celsius, this mess of land will be gone. Versus this mess of land will probably be shrink maybe 5%. 5% on a small island will come to nothing. So keep that in mind as we go through the process, working this. I know it's not directly in your lane, but I hope that you can feel, I hope that you understand the need of the islanders, territories, and the comparison of the two different. So these challenges, as I say, has been here. They're here. And they will be here tomorrow if we don't get the necessary resources, if we don't do decisions that would change the shape of how we go through tomorrow, and if we don't work together to really make impacts on all the conferences, all the meetings, all the discussions, and all the decisions that we will be facing with. Well, with that, let's approach this summit with hope, determinations, and a conviction that our actions today will create a brighter and a more resilient future. And the future is not tomorrow. For us islanders, the future is today. We're way behind. So, this meeting, this conference, I hope you take the chance to enjoy American Samoa. Don't spend all your time in this building. Take some time to go out and see the island. If you have a chance, go to the other islands of American Samoa. They're a lot worse than the main island. Just take the comparison that I said about in continental USA and American Samoa. The other islands and Tutuila is the main island, this size, the other islands, this size. So with that, have a good meeting, good conference, share information, and don't forget, decisions, resources is what we need. Faftai Manuel Fontana, Manuel Nea Sosofo.
Whaftaitele lau awhionga le manu, ko wana, o lau saunoanga whapitoa, e whaatonu fulau wai tātou neiva yasu Fontana, ma o aonga, a wale lawe ino soifua o Tangatanu, America Samoa. Thank you, Honorable Lemanu, for your words of wisdom and to lead and guide our federal partners that are actually here to feel and understand our unique circumstances. Thank you. But it is with extreme honor and respect that I introduce our keynote speaker, His Excellency Ratu William Tunganivalu, the roving ambassador to Pacific Island countries and territories and agencies of the Council of Regional Organizations of the Pacific. He has extensive experience as a regional security and risk management advisor. He served as senior non-commissioned officer in the British Army with numerous deployments. He is also the Fiji High Commissioner to the Government of Samoa. Please welcome His Excellency Ratu William Tunganivalu.
Honourable Lemanu Maunga, the Governor of American Samoa, Prime Chief Maunga Tasi Asuanga, Senior Pastor Osasa Okuso, Honourable Congresswoman Wifa Atali Rowigan, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Nisambulu Vinaka, Talofa lava, and a good morning to you all. I am deeply grateful and honored to address you today at the third annual Disaster Resilience Summit, representing Fiji as its roving ambassador to the Pacific. It is the greatest honor of my life to represent Fiji and to be welcomed with open arms by communities like your own. I have been struck not only by the similarities of our cultures, but the complexity and nuance which differentiates them. I would like to touch on that shared community of our Pacific heritage today with you all. Because we are not only here as contemporary representatives of our communities, of cultural and collective memory as Pacific Islanders. Before the age of modernity we are lucky to exist in, our ancestors lived on and with the land. Their hardship and struggle is a testament to their ingenuity and strength. In 2016, Cyclone Winston, a Category 5 cyclone, devastated parts of Fiji. The community's recovery was swift thanks to traditional knowledge and communal effort. In Fiji, stories of villagers rebuilding after cyclones illustrate the power of collective resilience and the integration of ancient practices with modern strategies. When we consider this year's theme, our community, our responsibility, let us acknowledge that such an ethos already exists within our communities. The indigenous Fijian concept of wakavanua, for instance, emphasizes living in harmony with the land's timeless ethics, embracing not just traditional practices, but the values that underline them. Wakavanua and Wakaturanga, the chiefly way, are not just about preserving traditions, but embodying qualities essential for their continuity, qualities such as respect, humility, and balance. These values might seem contrary to Western notions of progress, which often prioritize speed and innovation over sustainability and harmony. However, our approach, reflected in terms like Loloma, Aroa, and Aloha, underscores the importance of kindness and collaboration. Sole sole vaki, or mutual support, is crucial for navigating challenges together. It can be tempting, of course, to simply look ahead to modernity and technology as we strive to solve the problems of the 21st century. But I put to you, if each of us sat here is a representative not only of our contemporary communities, but the long line of ancestors who came before us, who are we to abandon the principles that not only help them survive, but can help us too? Our forefathers lived in close relationship with the land and the sea, developing a sophisticated understanding of agriculture, navigation, meteorology, and other fields. Their knowledge enabled them to withstand cyclones, earthquakes, floods, and disasters. The concept of vanua, meaning land, encapsulates this strength. It is not just a physical space, but a symbol of our social and cultural identity. From Fiji's vanua to Samoa's fanua, Tonga's fonua, and their variations in other Pacific languages, this term reflects our shared values and the foundation. As we gather here today, we are starkly reminded of the challenges facing our region. Recent earthquakes in Tonga, the gradual sinking of islands like Tuvalu, and the relentless cyclones and tsunamis underscore the urgency of our efforts. These events are not just statistics, but real impacts on our communities with devastating consequences for lives and livelihood. In Fiji, we have faced significant challenges, including the need to relocate villages threatened by rising sea levels. This task is monumental, but it is approached with the same spirit of resilience that characterized our ancestors. Our approach to relocation goes beyond physical movement. It involves preserving the social and cultural fabric of our communities. Under the Human Mobility in the Context of Climate Change program, we have developed standing operating procedures that integrate traditional knowledge with modern planning to ensure that relocations are respectful of heritage and effective in ensuring long-term sustainability. Our commitment to resilience is exemplified by the Fiji Resilience and Adaptation Program, which combines traditional knowledge with innovative solutions. This program supports communities through training, resource allocation, and infrastructure development, helping them prepare for and respond to natural disasters. Looking forward, Fiji aspires to advance its resilience efforts through projects like the the Low-Cost Sea Transportation Initiative, a project in the Marshall Islands which Fiji hopes to replicate. This project aims to learn from the traditional sailing techniques of our forefathers, but with modern upgrades. By reintegrating traditional sailing methods known for their efficiency and adaptability with contemporary materials and technology, we seek to create a sustainable and cost-effective sea transportation network. This vision of combining ancient wisdom with modern innovation reflects our broader approach to resilience. It demonstrates how we can draw from our rich history to create solutions that meet today's challenges. The future is coming, whether we like it or not, and it is up to each of us to shape it. As roving ambassador, I'm humbled to be part of the partnership between our nations, to work together so that the future of our children and grandchildren is a legacy we can be proud to leave behind. As we look to that future, let us never forget that we are tied together through the spirit of resilience. Though it may take different names, as I've touched on today, it is a common thread that runs through our nations. Let us learn from each other over the coming days, both from our differences and that which ties us together. It must never be a question of respecting the past or striding towards what lies ahead. We can be both custodians of our history and pioneers of our own future. Let us move forward with the unity, strength, and adaptability that have defined us for centuries, ensuring that our legacy of resilience endures for generations to come. Thank you. Nagavalevu, Vaafetai, Telelava.
Whaftai Telelava, Ratu, William Tunangimalu, for your commitment. I know you're very busy, but your commitment in maintaining the momentum of the conversations and the connectivity of the people in the Pacific. Thank you very much for being here. It is also my extreme honor, pleasure, and with respect to introduce our next speaker. She is the Honorable U.S. Representative Uifatali Amata Coleman. She serves as the Vice Chairman of the Full Committee on Veterans Affairs. She chairs the Women's Veterans Task Force. She chairs the Natural Resources Task Force on the Indo-Pacific. Vice Chairman, Foreign Affairs, Subcommittee on the Indo-Pacific. She's the Vice Chairman, Congressional Western Committee, Vice Chairman, and House Pacific Island Caucus. In her capacity in these committees, she legislates, conducts oversight of laws and departments in administration, and proposes policies and programs. She is active on issues of health, education, welfare, political status, and on all economics and social programs concerning the U.S. Pacific territories, but especially American Samoa. American Samoa, we are well represented in Washington, D.C. With much respect, Honorable Uifatali Amata Coleman.
I rau whaafonga tapua I rea tunu tofi. Te awa whaaroaro atu, tu rau lava. O pa ia maulunga whaatatala lei, o mamaru tau ave whaaramaro, mausa mai le mamau whaareanga nuu. Nuu I rau whaato whala inga mamaru, anau tapua inga mamana. Le whautanga whareanga nuu, o po ngai ai le whaitau, e le tau masina si atua mautakata. Ai le tatalo al poto le tua. Ina ia whaona ina i le leanga. A wā i whaatotua ia te hia. Talofa lava. It is so good to be here with you for the 3rd annual Disaster Resilience Conference. I believe the first 2 times I had obligations in Congress and sent you a video message instead. Thank you, first of all, to Director Lisa Tuato'o, who is known for her leadership in this important area, and the entire team here. You do great work, not only putting on this conference, but especially thank you for your year-round efforts to make sure our islands are prepared for the unexpected. I use that word, unexpected, but we know from our history in the Pacific that the unexpected means it is only a surprise in terms of when it happens. We can work to prevent some, but nature and storms won't be denied. In those cases, we rely on our systems, preparations, and response. That takes many hours of planning and work, so your focus today is so much appreciated by our people. Let me note, whenever there's more I can do at the federal level to support you, let me know. If you hear of legislation that sounds good, perhaps through your counterparts in other territories or states, contact me or my office. I'm happy to examine it, and if it is good for our islands, and assuming it's responsible bipartisan legislation, I'll be very happy to support it. Federal funding is a key to disaster readiness and response. In general, appropriations are at something of a tipping point for next year. This month, Congress is back in session from the August work period, but traditionally, progress is quite limited in September and October of these even-numbered years. Then, in November, we begin what is known as a lame duck session to close out the 118th Congress. What happens at the end of the year is very much shaped by the elections nationwide and influenced by what the people of the United States decide. By then, we will know if the next president is named Trump or Harris, if the next Senate Majority Leader is a Republican or Democrat, as longtime leader McConnell closes out his many years of leadership on the Republican side, and if the next Speaker of the House is named Mike Johnson or Hakeem Jeffries. I know them both very well, and I think we can assume that narrowly divided government is once again fairly likely. So bipartisanship is really the best way to get things done. Fortunately, there's typically reasonable agreement on something as important as federal disaster funding. There are a lot of moving parts as far as timing. After 10 plus years in Congress, my best expectation is that if appropriations are not completed, continuing resolutions will hopefully extend all funding as the fiscal year closes, followed by finishing the appropriations for fiscal year 2025. A new administration, in either outcome of the election, will want to make a mark in legislation promptly. So I will keep you informed as we go and look for opportunities for American Samoa. Last year at this time, We were taking in the terrible news of the Lahaina wildfire. I saw the devastation with the congressional delegation just a couple of days after. A very solemn experience. In fact, I was with Mr. Robert Fenton, who took us over there. There are major questions. What more could have been done to prevent it, to slow it, and to provide people with more time? What more could have been done to help people to safety during such a massive, rapid event? It's a lot to consider. In American Samoa, we have the sad memory of the 2009 killer tsunami 15 years ago, our most severe disaster here in most of our lifetimes. Storm Gita in early 2018 was another reminder. My own small anecdote, at the time, some might remember, I was easily recognized all over the island in my little bright yellow car. A downed coconut tree fell right on it. Others, perhaps in this room, lost far more as businesses, homes, roads, utilities all suffered damages. FEMA's response for us was very, very important, and our local response and cooperation is every bit as important. Full recovery took a long time, and yet we know that bigger storms are possible. I believe we're prepared more for the future following each major event, and I know you have that goal. In closing, we also have recent Pacific memories of volcanoes. In 2022, the major explosion at Ungatonga, Hungaha'apai, caused enormous disruption to survivors, including their ability to have water. In 2019, tourists were lost in the unexpected eruption in New Zealand's Wakahari White Island. And in 2023, when I visited Papua New Guinea with a congressional delegation, our U.S. Navy and Marines were deployed there near Bougainville due to a volcanic eruption that displaced thousands and caused a severe need for drinking water. We know we have activity near Manua that thankfully has settled down since those 2022 earthquakes. I know you're working to anticipate as many of the possibilities as possible, while our prayer is for clear skies and smooth waters. Even so, this planning and readiness for urgent action will one day save lives. I commend you for your efforts. May God bless you and our people and the results of your focus on our safety at this summit. Soifua maia manuia.
Whaftaitele Awhiongawhi Fatali. Thank you very much, Honorable Congresswoman. She came straight from Alaska to make the Monday flight to get here, to arrive here. Or she tried. And now, it is my extreme honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Basil Otley. He is the Policy Director of the U.S. Department of Interior, Office of Insular Affairs, coordinating OIA and federal policies for the territories of American Samoa, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. He also administers and oversees the U.S. federal assistance provided to the freely associated states of the Federated States of Micronesia, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and the Republic of Palau under the Compact of Free Association. According to Esther Kiaina, past Department of Interior Assistant Secretary for Insular Areas, Basil has a wealth of policy experience at the federal and territorial levels, of government. He truly understands the complexities of issues that affect the U.S. Pacific territories and freely associated states in the Pacific. Please welcome Mr. Basil Ali, who has been here since Wednesday. Thank you.
Talofa, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Paramount Chief, Senior Pastor, Mr. Ambassador, and of course, Congresswoman Rada Wagon. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the honor of being here. I'm excited to be here. We're just coming off a very successful territorial climate and infrastructure workshop about 4 weeks ago, for which the American Samoa contingency represented American Samoa in an astounding manner. Governor, you need to be proud of how these folks presented. In fact, I gotta really recognize the governor for being a tremendous advocate for American Samoa. Wherever he goes, he has a list of priorities, which he is not shy about, even if it makes certain folks uncomfortable. He is not shy about advocating with his list of needs of American Samoa. And so he is an extremely powerful advocate for the people of American Samoa. Now, I think, Governor, you may have been to the first territorial workshop, and then Governor Lower came to the second one. Neither of them showed up to the third one. But I got to tell you, Governor, your presence and the Chief's presence were not missed. Lisa carried on the momentum of making sure your list was accounted for. She made sure that we all understood the needs, the priorities of the people of American Samoa. And the entire American Samoa team, they squeezed every moment of every meeting that was available. They showed up to every workshop. They supported one another. They were the envy of all of the other territories. It was tremendous. And Paramount Chief, they brought the love of American Samoa in a big way. They shared the love with me also. You know the American Samoa team comes with a coordinated outfit, and this year they included me. And they brought me a wonderful shirt. It fit perfectly. But that tremendous love that they showed, Paramount Chief, almost got me exiled from my home island of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Those of you who were there remember, as soon as I talked about the shirt and they saw that I was in the shirt, my U.S. Virgin Islander friends and relatives got up right after me, and they spanked me hard for wearing the shirt of American Samoa. And I had to go home to try to make sure to smooth things out in my next official visit. And Governor, I almost might have had to be begging you to find a village someplace in America, in Samoa, to adopt me if I wasn't able to smooth things out. All jokes and fun aside, I'm really happy to be here. This is such an important conference that I think feeds off of ours, because in our conference we try to present the opportunities that are out there to fund the critical infrastructure investments that the governor has talked about. And we're able to, with the help of some of our federal colleagues who are here, able to bring people together, the territories and the federal partners who have the funding, the technical assistance, to really make sure that the governor's vision of how to improve the infrastructure to make it more resilient against all threats of disasters, that these projects can really come into being. And so having this conference come right after that, it is so important and useful. And I especially like the theme of this year's conference. Our community our responsibility, that is such an important thing, because resilience, especially in times of disasters, is everybody's job, right? Everybody has to pitch in, everybody has to understand the role that they play, and you can't sleep. It has to be a constant forward-moving effort. As Lisa announced, I've been in this position since about 2015. Before that, I was the Department of Interior's U.S. Virgin Islands field representative and desk officer. So I was an expert on all things U.S. Virgin Islands because I am from there. I'm an island boy, right? And when I got into this position, I said, you know, I got to learn everything there is to learn about the territories that I am now an advocate of as well. So, you do the traditional things. You read the Constitution, you look to other supporting documents to understand what are the priorities of a place. One thing I especially like to do is I like to look at the general plans, the comprehensive land and water use plans or what have you, to really get an understanding of what matters most to communities. If a general plan is done right, if a general plan is done right, it will give you a sense of the community's vision for itself, its challenges, its hopes, its dreams, its expectations, its major challenges, its fears, its weaknesses, opportunities, challenges, as well as a blueprint of what does the way forward look like. And I gotta say, I found a 2003 general plan from American Samoa. And I'll read a couple components of it just to refresh your memory if you're not familiar with it. It says the following issues encapsulate the 5 principal areas of concern which were identified during the formulation of this territorial general plan and frames its content. 1, cumulative impacts upon the residents' quality of life and the environment from which the population is increasing. 2, government performance and the ability of the government to provide services and infrastructure to meet the future needs. 3, economic dependency upon the government and canneries and limited potential and opportunities for the future economic growth. 5, carrying capacity of the territory's natural resources and an uncertain outlook for the sustainable development. And finally, adequate social development programs and services to maintain a secure social environment and offer adaptability for the future. That sounds relevant even now, right? This is something that was written 20 years ago, and it emphasizes that whole concept of our community, our responsibility. When I read this, the one thing that stood out for me was the reference to carrying capacity. You know? I'm a little bit of a planning nerd. I think when I was going to grad school, I was playing around with going to public policy school or going to planning school, policy school, worn out. But I think inherently I'm still somewhat of a planner. And I gotta tell you, that term carrying capacity was very unique and unusual in a general comprehensive plan of any community. It was the first time I came upon it, right? And I'll give you two definitions of what carrying capacity means, because it's typically a term that's used in biology and stuff like that, right? And so from the biological perspective, carrying capacity is the maximum population size of a species that an environment can support indefinitely. Now, from a broader social science perspective, carrying capacity is can also be used more generally to refer to the upper limit of habitats, ecosystems, and landscapes to provide goods and services sustainably. And I thought that was such a powerful concept that the writers of this plan in American Samoa thought of, right? Because they were saying, yes, we want development. Yes, we want progress. But in that discussion, we have to be also balancing at what level of development are we willing to go and sacrifice our culture and our identity. That at all points of consideration and moving forward, the question always had to be asked, do we have the carrying capacity for this investment, for this pursuit, for this road? And I had never seen that before. And even though this was written in 2003, it has become a part of my library because American Samoa showed leadership, showed a deep understanding of the threats to its movement forward. And I thought that was incredible. And the Paramount Chief and I were talking and reminiscing of the great foresight that the founding fathers had in signing the initial decree. He told me one of his relatives were among those who signed it and presented it. And you know, that set of decrees is also, you know, the other territories are jealous, you know, because the ability to protect and to project this American Samoa culture in all things is what the other territories aspire to do as well, but don't have the institutional foundation to do it. So as the forefathers of American Samoa led in the very beginning, I saw that concept of carrying capacity as another manner in which the American Samoan thinkers are also leading. The point I'm trying to make is as you are looking forward, as you continue to plan, don't forget to reach back to your great culture and the insights of your founding fathers. There's much to be learned, there's much to be retained as we move forward in this forever changing and challenging time. Thank you for your attention to LOFA, and thank you for having me here to be a part of this great conference. Thank you.
Well, great job, Basil. I know that uniform that we wore at the TCIW he spoke about. Virgin Islands were trying to attack him and say, why are you being a member of the American Samoa team? Thank you very much, Basil. Our next speaker is none other than one of my favorites from our federal family. He is Mr. Robert Fenton Jr. We call him Bob. He's the regional administrator for FEMA Region 9. He also served as a deputy associate administrator of the Office Response and Recovery of FEMA headquarters and was responsible for coordinating the federal response in support of states during disasters. He coordinated and integrated federal interagency all hazards disasters planning and response operations and managed emergency response teams and oversees disaster emergency communications program. He has expressed his regrets. I spoke with him on the phone that he's not able to be here in person, but he has gotten everybody to work together to get his video so we can see him. He's away at a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to ask the guy to please play his video right now.
Alofa and fa'afete for allowing me to join you for the 3rd Annual American Samoa Disaster Resilience Summit. I wish I could be there with you. However, my participation in a congressional panel examining the response to the Maui wildfires prevented me from being there in person. I would like to begin by taking a moment to thank Governor Magao for his leadership and support of disaster preparedness. During steady state times, we have worked hand in hand to enhance preparedness and resilience, ensuring that the needs of all residents are met. This ongoing collaboration has been crucial in strengthening the foundation for when disaster strikes. September is National Preparedness Month. This year, FEMA is focusing its efforts on the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities to provide culturally competent information, address barriers to preparedness, and influence behavior change. According to research by the Ad Council, 65% of AA and HPI individuals in the United States don't believe that taking steps to prepare will make a difference. This is why FEMA is increasing its commitment to accessibility and leveraging cultural competency across the agency to better communicate with all cultures. FEMA has planned an agency-wide initiative to engage the AA and HPI community from our headquarters to our regional offices. When disaster strikes, the difference between devastation and resilience often comes down to how well a community is prepared. Community preparedness isn't just an individual responsibility, it's a collective one. It's a responsibility we all share, from local leaders to community organizations to you and I as individuals. When we can come together as a community to plan and educate, we can increase our ability to recover quickly and reduce the impacts of disasters. One of the key tools FEMA has in its resilience toolbox is its mitigation grants. These grants are vital resources designated to help communities reduce risk and increase resilience. I know American Samoa has made great efforts to apply for these grants, and I want to assure you our staff is here to help support you in that process. By making smart investments now, we can save lives, reduce damage, and lessen the financial burden that disasters place on our communities. Over the past decade, we have witnessed increasing frequency and intensity of storms, wildfires, floods, and other extreme weather events. These risks we face today are different from what they were even a decade ago. These changing risks require us to think differently about how we prepare and how we mitigate disaster impacts. We can no longer assume that the next disaster will be like the last one. Instead, we need to prepare for the possibility that it could be more severe, more widespread, and more damaging than anything we've ever experienced before. However, mitigation and preparedness can't just be about the government stepping in. Preparedness starts at home, within our families and within our neighborhoods. It means knowing the risks specific to our area, having an emergency plan in place, and ensuring that our loved ones are ready if and when disaster strikes. It means getting involved with community organizations, supporting local resilience efforts, and making sure that our neighborhoods have the resources they need to respond effectively. I want to encourage everyone here today to take action today, whether that means attending preparedness workshops, participating in local drills, or even just talking to your neighbors about disaster plans. Preparedness is not just about surviving the next disaster. It's about thriving in the face of adversity. It's about coming together as a community to ensure that no one is left behind. Let's work together to build a resilient future for our community. Fa'afate.
Fenton really wished he was here. And in confirmation of Basil's remarks about Honorable Governor being a great ambassador for American Samoa, he also bothers Bob all the time about our priority list. The Honorable Governor of Hawaii has expressed his warmest regards and appreciation and support, and in that regard, he has sent none other, our born and raised Ms. Felea'i Siatiu Tau, who is a dedicated public servant with long-standing commitment to supporting communities across Hawaii and the Pacific Islands. She's currently serving as the Community Relief Liaison at the Office of the Governor, the State of Hawaii. She brings a wealth of experience from her previous roles in government, and we're very grateful that you're able to make the flight last night. Please help us welcome Ms. Filea'i Siatiu Tau.
Talofa. Talofa. Yeah. Whaftai atu, mōli atu le ngangona whaftai tele lava e lau sunga al whatonu Lisa. Ona le nei foi awa noa tā ua watu ina mai I nei tangata whatau waa. A wāse sawa o le state o Hawaii o nei whamoe moe te tuila ma manua. E tu watu le lima o le whatalofa. Whatulo atu fo'i le paia ma le malo tātou a fia. Whatulo atu I sui vaai o le atua, sunga I whawhiangainga, sui o ekalesia taitasi. Le fionga ko vana le manumonga, a pea fo'i le lutena ko vana tau whai a la pui. Ta mā o tātou atu nuu, o sui mai I atu nuu ese ese. Ia me se lava ia le mamanu o tātou atu nuu I Amerika Samoa o mwhai ona awai mai I nei. Ia mai lātou fo I olo whapeo na mata pe mai mo mai televise. Too low na lava. I am deeply honored and just so humbled to be here today. As Director Lisa had mentioned earlier, the governor of the state of Hawaii, Josh Green, sends his warmest aloha to the people of American Samoa. And just grateful that we are able to be included in this summit. I think over the course of this summit, you will hear from subject matter experts on the mitigation, planning, and those areas of the response. But I was asked to come and to share some of our experiences from the recent Maui wildfires in hopes that it would benefit the people of American Samoa as well as our brothers and sisters across the Pacific. So as my role as the community relief liaison, my work has, I've been focusing heavily on the community in Maui after the Maui wildfires. So I'd like to speak on the stories from the community, because truly all of this that we're doing here, the heart of all of this is the community and the people that make up the community. So I'd like to share some of the stories that we've experienced of those who are affected by the Maui wildfires and the recovery phase that we are currently in, and driving our community, our responsibility theme, and just wanting to stress the importance of community engagement in disaster management. I apologize, I will resume. Just to give you a context of what had occurred in Maui. On August 8th, 2023, fueled by the fierce winds, fire tore through Lahaina at 74 miles per hour, claiming the lives of 102 people, destroying 2,200 structures, and displacing 3,071 households, making it one of the most deadliest wildfires in the United States. To give you an idea of the response or the needs in the Maui wildfires, I'd like to give you a little context of the support that was needed. Lahaina is, like most of the state of Hawaii, has a very diverse population. We have Native Hawaiians, Tongans, Chinese, Pohnpeian, Vietnamese, Korean, Marshallese, Latino, Kosraean, Chukis, we have Caucasians, and then we have the other layer of population, which is most often forgotten. This is the elderly, the houseless communities, and of course, in recent, are the tourists. So part of the community who was affected by the Maui wildfires are also the tourists who were in Lahaina during the wildfires. The response on the day of the wildfire, I'm sure everyone has seen coverage on the news. I don't have to tell you step by step what happened. I do want to recognize that our first responders from the Maui County state agencies, our Hawaii National Guard, our federal partners, FEMA, Red Cross, and other agencies, we are so grateful for the response that they provided. I would be remiss if I did not highlight the most amazing response on this day, which drives, again, the importance of community, the community engagement in disasters. The most inspiring response on this day came from the community, the people in Lahaina, the individuals, the families who were affected in Lahaina and across Maui and across the state of Hawaii. As word of the fire spread, community members took it upon themselves to provide resources, immediate needs. We saw stories of people who lived on Maui, and because of the road access to Lahaina being closed, they took it upon themselves to gather food, water, basic necessities, and transported those by boat to the other side of Maui through the harbor using community networking. The families that were there, the people that they knew, they all gathered and they dispersed to try and get all of these resources to the families in Lahaina on the day. Most of these efforts go unnoticed. But as a community advocate and the work that we have done on the community level, responding to the community, doing outreaches, facing people, the families who have just been affected, this truly is, they truly are the first responders in natural disasters. Yes, we have our government, yes, we have our federal partners, but many times the response is not timely, to no fault of their own. There are layers and layers of challenges that we see usually delays the response from the government agencies and the local governments. But the community, they rise to the occasion. They take it upon themselves because they know it is their community, it is their responsibility. Without even being asked, they rise to the occasion and they respond. The recovery phase in which we are, I believe, will take a long time. We are currently in the recovery phase. The needs that we are seeing based on the recovery phase from FEMA, these are the 4 areas of needs: health and social services, cultural support, financial economic recovery, basic needs, and housing. Disaster recovery centers were stood up immediately after the wildfires. to centralize the resources that the community needed. In these disaster DRC centers, we had all of these services under one roof, making it accessible for the community. Why communities? Our communities, and I think we can draw some parallels here in the islands and across the Pacific. We have existing structures. We have the churches, we have the villages, we have the families. Including the communities in preparing in disaster prepared response would be to your advantage. Communities are more culturally informed. When we saw that in Maui, a lot of the communities there, the layers, the different the diversity, the diverse groups, cultural groups, we had all of the resources that they needed under one roof in the DRC. The problem we were seeing is that people were not coming to get the resources. So we asked, where is the community? Why are they not here? These are just some of the answers that I was able to get. These are informed by community, by the people who are affected by the disaster. As we know, culture is a huge part of our identity. And a lot of those, the people in Lahaina, that was one of the barriers for them, was when they came, for one, they did not know where to go. Secondly, when they were informed of where the resources were, they did not see anyone that they knew. They did not feel they could trust the people there. And a lot of these communities, they were already experiencing some kind of disparity pre-disaster. So I think that's something that we have to take in consideration when we provide these responses. And I want to give credit to our federal partners, FEMA, Red Cross, as well as EPA, and all of the partners who came out to support this. They turned around and they had all of their employees, their representatives, everyone went through a cultural sensitivity training to better serve the people. Again, we asked why community? We were able to create tailored responses to the needs of the communities. Here you see one of our events is the Outreach Day for the Tongan community in Maui. We asked, why is the community not coming out? Why are they not here to get the resources that they need? We know they need the resources. Why aren't they here? So we utilized our community networks. We reached out to the churches, the pastors. These are the trusted leaders in their community. They were able to reach the community much faster than we could ever do, and on the state level, the county, or the federal level. It is the community networks that we established even from the COVID era. A lot of these relationships were built then, and we kept these networks. We went to the churches, we went to the communities, the families, and they came together and they provided resources out of their pockets, in addition to what was provided through the federal partners, the state, the county, and all of the philanthropic help. So here you see our Maui Tongan resource outreach. When people came into this outreach, it gave you a feel of Tonga. You came into the DRC with people who were sitting on the floor doing whaikava. You came into the DRC with Tongans dancing their cultural dances. Tongan food was served. Spiritual resources were available. We had the pastors there. So all of these, the tailored response proved to be successful for us in reaching the community. We had a KOFA resource fair. We had a resource fair for the Latino communities. The reports after these resource fairs proved that this was successful because we had numbers of people from each community come out, sign up for FEMA, sign up for Red Cross, all of the different areas of need. They were able to come to the resource fair and sign up for them and receive the assistance. Some of the challenges that we encountered, now this list is just a limited list, but I chose to use a couple of these that would be more, that would apply to American Samoa and across the Pacific. Culturally appropriate and trauma-informed responses. The trauma-informed response or approach, we've come to realize the Office of the Wellness and Resilience in the Governor's Office. This is a very vital part of the response. We saw that a lot of the families who were affected were traumatized. Yes, we were providing money. Yes, we were providing housing. We were providing medical support. But when we talk about a holistic approach, we want to include mental health and their well-being. So this is something that our Office of Wellness and Resilience is working on, creating that framework so that this could be incorporated into our disaster response. That when we are responding to a disaster and helping our community, we want to make sure that it's a holistic approach. And this is how we get resilient communities. Coordinated response efforts. I'm sure everyone saw on the news, on social media, everyone jumped to help. And that is the heart of the community. Everyone wanted to help each other. Unfortunately, a coordinated, effort was not present. Until we had the federal government, the state, and the county there, the community were on their own. So we had people in Oahu who were, getting all of these resources, putting it in a container, send it over to Maui. And then when they sent it over to Maui, we couldn't use it or they couldn't receive it. There was no room. We had no capacity for more. And so all of that work, all of those resources would have been wasted in the eyes of these people, the community who really wanted to be there for their people of Maui. We saw people in Maui. We had medics. We had medical responders who were on their own time. They came and they wanted to provide support. Again, we need a more coordinated response. Accessibility. This is probably one of the biggest challenges for us. This was a deterrence to getting the resources to these communities, was language accessibility. We had far and few interpreters. FEMA had a grant that they had brought down to bring in more interpreters, because when we had our Chuukese, when we had our Filipino, Tagalog-speaking community members, our Latinos, the Spanish-speaking community members, they came in, they needed a lot of help, but they couldn't understand. There was a language barrier. And even those who had some English proficiency, filling out those applications was really hard for them. Even someone like me, we took it upon ourselves to try and do hand-holding, looking at these applications. it was hard to understand. Medical support, the disabled community, this is one of the communities that during the initial response, we had a lot of calls from the hospital because they were overrun. They took in a lot of patients who were injured from the fire, and then they also took in a lot of patients who had injuries pre-fire. And so they were running out of beds, but they had a lot of people who needed medical respite care. The support for the household individuals and the lack of documentation, I think this is a good segue to go into the resilience portion of our preparedness. A lot of the challenges was language accessibility and documentation. Because these people lost everything in the fire, they had no documents. This is one of the areas in preparedness that our emergency management group is pushing out that we are really highlighting. Create a personal package. Make copies of your birth certificate, your visa, your green cards, your IDs. Create a digital copy of those and store it somewhere safe. Send a copy to someone trusted in another country or another island. In case of a disaster, when you go in to try and get the resources, there is no delay because you still have a copy of these. So these are just some of the challenges. There are many challenges during the recovery period. Resilience. Again, education and training is pivotal. Community empowerment. Back to a holistic approach. We looked at how we can build up our community, how we can create spaces for them. Our Marshallese community reached out, and because of the need that they saw in their community during this disaster, they wanted to find out how the resources were trickling down. So with education and information informing our communities, we are now on the way to creating their nonprofits. Again, empowering our community, I think, is one of the most biggest supports that we can give them to be resilient. Informing them, educating them, creating access to care. Studies show that communities who have access to resources, they're most likely to be resilient in the face of a disaster. Lastly, mental health and wellness support is a vital component to community resilience. We had at one of our outreaches a mother who sat there. When we were filling out her applications, she bursted out in tears and she started wailing. We are not experts in mental health, so we did not know what to do, only to try and console her by telling her it's going to be okay. We continued with the application. A few minutes later, the same thing happens again. She bursts out in tears and she starts crying. This mother shared her story of the day of the fire. She is someone with asthma. When she came home, returning home from work that day, she saw that the roads were closed and 2 of her children were at home by themselves. She ran to try and get past the police, but they told her no one was allowed to go back in. She had to make a decision whether to abide by the rules, the law, or do it herself. She decided to run in anyway. On her way to her house, she said she kept praying that the Lord will help her because she knows that going into their home as someone who is asthmatic, she would probably die. But she did not want to missed the opportunity to try and get to her children to save them because she knew they were still there. So when she ran into her home, she opened the door, the house was engulfed in flames. Her 2 children were standing there. They froze, they didn't know what to do. So she quickly grabbed them and pulled them, and she said, on their way out of the house, she really thought that this is the end. She was going to die. She had already inhaled a lot of smoke. But by the grace of God, they were able to make it out. I bring this up to say that we can see the recovery phase going on for years, for months, for weeks, however long it takes. We can see structures go up. We can see people housed. We can see them get jobs, get their financial resources. But mentally, their well-being they're not okay. So the next time a disaster happens, they won't be able to respond in a way that they should. They would not be prepared. So again, looking into engaging the community and really making them a part of the preparedness plans. We need to empower them and invest in our community, their mental health and their well-being as well. With that said, I hope that some of these stories and some of the lessons learned here will be impactful as we continue to prepare, as we try to prepare American Samoa as well as the Pacific for the next natural disaster, because we know it's not a question of when it's going to happen. It's not a question of if it's going to happen. We know it will happen. And so hopefully by then we will be much more resilient and prepared. Thank you.
With heartfelt appreciation, I'd like to thank all of our distinguished speakers for your invaluable contribution and the knowledge you have imparted on us today. At this time, we're going on a break. Please, we're going to get our photo. Can we please ask everybody to please shake a little bit and walk to the front to get our photo taken? This is our group photo. Yeah, 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 yeah. Please come to the front so we can take our picture. I think we have